Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering diversity, equity, and inclusion jobs getting destroyed. Companies are slashing their DEI workforce amid massive backlash. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. You know, it's like the ESG situation. This had to have happened eventually. And over the past year, it's happening more and more. Coming from News One, honeymoon is over. 33% of DEI professionals lost their jobs last year. From New York Post, DEI is failing because it promotes division instead of unity. From a diversity, equity, and inclusion pro who was let go because she questioned the DEI program. ABC News, how corporate America is slashing diversity, equity, and inclusion workers amid backlash to diversity programs. From the Washington Times, big tech layoffs reduce minority hires, deem affirmative action push as costly during inflation. From Forbes, as Supreme Court erases college affirmative action, new reports find companies refusing to deliver on DEI promises. From NPR, corporate DEI initiatives are facing cutbacks and legal attacks. Diversity, equity, and inclusion workers fret companies aren't hiring them anymore. It's insane. It's pathetic, they say. The high-priced jobs faced massive cuts in tech layoffs last summer. And lastly, from NPR, amid a slowing economy, some companies have been dropping DEI jobs. From ABC News, DEI officers say they face cuts in the years since George Floyd's murder. Years after the death of George Floyd shined a spotlight on societal inequities, diversity professionals say some companies are turning their backs on the progress that's been made to address them. Madison Butler is one of the many diversity, equity, and inclusion officers that companies previously brought on their payroll to ensure their business is equitable and accessible for people of all backgrounds. But in recent months, Butler said she's found it increasingly hard to find work, and she's not alone. DEI positions have been disproportionately hit by layoffs across industries, but particularly at tech companies which have faced financial challenges as sales slowed from the blistering pace attained during the pandemic. When Butler reached out to DEI professionals who planned to hire her for consulting, she said companies have told her, quote, "Oh, this person is no longer with the company. Oh, this person has been laid off. Oh, this person no longer works here effective last month." Melody, who is using only her first name for privacy reasons, is also a DEI professional, and she said she was laid off along with others on her DEI team within just a few months of their hiring. Quote, "It's difficult to be somewhere for a brief period of time and feel like you didn't even have the time to make the impact you wanted to make," Melody told ABC News. Quote, "The workplace is so full of human beings and we're not robots," she added. "We definitely need people at work who can help us feel like we belong there." Well, you have to go and acclimate when you're going to work at a company. You can't go there and say, look, based on my skin color, I need this to happen for me, that to happen for me. There are tech companies, there are other companies that do have money to invest in making employees feel comfortable all the time. But pretty much the companies are there to try to get productive work out of the people that they hire. You should never be hired based on what you look like. Yes, of course, that happens in the world sometimes. Sometimes it's because you're very pretty. Sometimes it's because you're a high energy person. Sometimes it's because you dress very well. Sometimes it's because you know someone. We aren't robots. Melody knows exactly what she's talking about. That's true. But just because some people have advantages or disadvantages, there's no way to make that equal. It's literally impossible. Whether you're an employer or you're an employee or you work for an employer screening and hiring people, I've hired a lot of people. You have to hire based on people's merit and their attitude. George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer in May 2020 during his arrest. His death prompted a nationwide movement in which protesters demanded individuals and organizations alike take action in addressing societal injustices that impact historically marginalized groups. To do this, some companies sought out the expertise of DEI professionals like Butler and Melody. Quote, "We suddenly saw everyone coming out of the woodwork wanting to hire a lot of them, hiring inaugural DEI folks," Melody said. And you had to wonder, are people actually ready for this? Or is this just a trend that we're seeing? Of course it was just a trend. It was a fad. Everyone should be treated equally. Forget the equity stuff. DEI initiatives are often intended to address workplace culture and conditions, such as inaccessibility in the workplace for disabled people, poor retention rates for workers of color, and other inequities faced by marginalized groups. Most of what people need to succeed is incredible hard work, dedication, passion, focus, networking. These are things you can Google. You don't need me to tell you. But you do need to do these things if you want to succeed and if you want to excel. What you look like is never going to be enough. From September 2019 to September 2020, job postings for diversity, inclusion, and belonging positions on the hiring website Indeed rose by 56.3%, the company said. A LinkedIn study found that chief diversity and inclusion officer positions grew by 168% from 2019 to 2022. The rapid organizational movement towards addressing inequalities was initially exciting for DEI professionals, but in just a couple of years, that excitement wavered as growth rapidly fell apart. Quote, "The honeymoon is over," Cecil Howard, a DEI consultant and former chief diversity officer at the University of South Florida, told ABC News. Right after George Floyd's killing, everybody who didn't have a diversity office quickly created a diversity office, he added. A few years later, they started realizing we checked the box and things are a little quieter now. DEI begins to disappear. Starting in late 2020, months after the killing of Floyd set off a racial reckoning, a host of companies escalated cuts of DEI professionals. A survey of more than 600 companies from the data firm Revilio Labs found. Last year, the layoffs accelerated significantly, the study found. 1 in 3 DEI professionals lost their roles over a 1-year period ending in December, the survey said. Over that period, the study added, non-DEI workers experienced a relatively lower attrition rate of 21%. The job losses owe to several trends: a sluggish economy that prompted cost cuts, a softening of the scrutiny that held corporations to account, and a rise of conservative backlash against DEI, some DEI professionals told ABC News. Quote, "In 2020, a lot of organizations reacted to the market, reacted to social events taking place without really having a clear understanding of what DEI is and how it should be enabled in business." Christine Lindor, a diversity strategist and CEO of Tessie Consulting, told ABC News. Quote, "When things get rough, these things are the areas that go." Speaking of laid-off DEI professionals, Howard noticed job losses concentrated among individuals who criticized an employer's diversity-related policies or offered ambitious ideas for reform, he said. Well, there you go. Just do your work, focus on your work, focus on what you're contributing to your company, because if you're really good at what you do and you contribute a lot to your company, they will either value you or you can take that value that you create to another company that will appreciate you. It's called better dealing. You can get a better deal from someone else if they don't appreciate you. You can even ask for and probably get a raise at your job if you're doing a great job and you know you're doing a great job and your employer knows it. How do you do that? I don't have a video on it, so for now you're going to have to just Google it. But research it. Of course you can do that. Quote, "The separations weren't coming from organizations that were really serious about enhancing their culture," he said, describing a chilling effect for DEI professionals. "We don't need you to be a voice. We need you to be a face." In other words, like they used to say about children, children should be seen and not heard. What a terrible position to be in, that you come in to do some kind of human resources type of function, and then essentially companies say, "Hey, look, we just kind of need you to sit in your chair so that we can say we have someone in the diversity department and we're handling it. But if you make a lot of trouble or a lot of noise, we don't need trouble, and we're not really looking to change the organization and change the culture. We're looking to just make money and stay in business if we can." These are the financial realities of being in business and running a business. At the same time, conservative elected officials such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Texas Governor Greg Abbott began to target DEI initiatives. DeSantis last month signed into law a bill that prohibits state or federal spending on DEI programs at public universities in Florida. That means if you're a DEI consultant, you ain't getting money from the state. That's what that's about. So a lot of jobs got cut right there. The acronym, DeSantis said, should be reinterpreted as discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination. In February, Abbott's office ordered state agencies to stop using diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in hiring, calling them illegal. Abbott's chief of staff, Gardner Pate, claimed these programs, quote, proactively encourage discrimination in the workplace and do the opposite of what they claim to do. It's a little hard to say that they don't discriminate because the whole concept is, look, we have to discriminate against these people to make it more fair for those people. Legally, no, you're not allowed to do that. And in June, Abbott signed a ban on diversity offices in state-funded higher education institutions. In a statement, a spokesman from Abbott's office told ABC News that, quote, the issue is not diversity. The issue is that equity is not equality, and DEI practices conflate the two. The statement continued, quote, some universities and woke professors have been using DEI to advance political agendas and exclude conservative viewpoints on college campuses. These efforts adversely affect our students, limit exposure to diverse thought, and destroy our educational system. Lindor accused elected officials like Abbott and DeSantis of weaponizing DEI for political purposes, calling conservative political attacks one of the driving forces behind cuts in the field. Yes, that would be correct. Butler and Melody believe that anti-DEI policies intend to turn back progress made by marginalized groups toward equality. Quote, people fear losing power, said Butler. And of course, that includes Melody and Butler. They have feared, and they have now experienced the fear of now having lost their power through their destroyed DEI programs that no longer exist. Quote, so much of this work has to be centered around deconstructing things like white supremacy, deconstructing status quos. And those status quos and white supremacy protect people in positions of power. Unbelievable that this ever was a thing. Without these DEI policies, professionals fear that organizations may fall back into patterns that create unhealthy or exclusive work cultures that drive away diverse candidates, employees, and customers alike. Customers will run away if you give them good service and good products. No, they won't. But you can't just complain. You actually have to go and perform things that provide value to people. Companies that stay in business know that, and these DEI professionals are going to have to start to learn that lesson, hopefully sooner than later. Everyone can contribute, but they need to find out what the market needs, and they need to deliver on that, not just complain. Quote, if we don't have employees that understand people of different cultures, different backgrounds, companies are going to find themselves losing good employees to discriminatory practices, said Britt Levy, a former DEI employee who was also laid off, this time from Facebook. She continued, it's going to be an uphill battle for retention. Employee morale is going to go down because now you have these employees that feel like targets. They have targets on their back. Companies choosing to slash DEI programs could face difficulty hiring candidates from underrepresented groups and understanding the needs of a diverse customer base, Lindor said. You know, most of these companies, like these big companies particularly, are multinational. They've been selling into multiple countries in hundreds of different countries, who buy things in different languages, who have all different kinds of wants, needs, terms of sale, price point, things like that. They don't need these people telling them how to discriminate in the workplace so that it's going to somehow be good for business. It's not good for business. That's why business, now that times are getting tougher and tougher in the economy, are getting rid of people that don't contribute to the bottom line. Quote, it's not just about being progressive as an organization, Howard said. Start looking at the bottom line. Well, we're just talking about the bottom line, Howard. Some states that have banned workplace affirmative action, a diversity initiative that allows employers to consider race as one factor in hiring, saw that such bans negatively impacted diversity in the workplace, according to a Harvard study. The study analyzed the workforces of 4 state governments following the ban and found that these states saw significant declines in the number of Black women, Latino men, and Asian men working there. Okay, but were the offices productive? Because that's the number one priority. Beyond that, sure, give opportunities to whomever you can. But you have to study the productivity, not the skin color, gender, or race of people that work there. Or even their religion. That also doesn't matter. Meanwhile, the number of white men in the workplace increased, the study says. Diversity has also proven to be good for business, according to several studies that indicate that companies that are more diverse are more innovative and in turn more profitable. Companies that fail to diversify could fall behind, especially in the tech industry, where a surge in the development of AI has heightened the importance of innovation, Lindor said. None of these statements sound like you could actually point to anything and say, oh, look, here's the proof. The studies are not proof. The studies are all goal-seeking efforts to try to prove their point. Some people fall for them, most people don't. And the tech companies, they're willing to blow money left, right, and center. But when times get tight, they don't fool around. They're the first to cut people off. But we're seeing more candidates who want to join companies that align with their values, Lindor said. Quote, it's difficult for companies to authentically say DEI is a priority when they're cutting. We're going to start to see the results of that in the marketplace in the years to come, she added. Well, we are going to see the results of that in the years to come. And the results, of course, are going to be very straightforward. If you're going to just look at skin color, these companies will be a failure. If you're going to look at productivity, profit, and growth, they'll probably be successful if what they focus on is productivity, profit, and growth. You get what you focus on. It's not just in business, it's in life. And you have to see this from Forbes. 4 DEI questions today's job seekers are asking, and here's how to respond. So these are people, they're looking for a job. Doesn't matter what their skin color is. They want to work at a company. They want to get paid, build their career. This is a Forbes editor's pick. Here are the 4 questions. So you have this person sitting in front of you. You're trying to think to yourself, should I get this person? Are they trustworthy? Are they a hard worker? Are they going to help the company? Are they going to be a problem for the company? Here are the 4 questions that Forbes is suggesting. If you're a job seeker, you need to ask the company these questions. What is the company's DEI strategy? How are you measuring progress on DEI? How detectable is DEI? And lastly, of course, but not least, how are microaggressions addressed? I think companies have a lot of issues these days, and it's fine to ask whatever questions you think are appropriate if you're looking for a job. And there is also nothing wrong with asking questions on an interview. When I hire people, I like when people ask me questions because it shows they're aware of my company. It shows they can think, they're expressing interest. However, these questions don't prioritize the employer-employee work relationship and how the employee can contribute to the company. An employee has to give that impression that they're going to make a valuable financial contribution to the company for being there. An employer always has to consider that. So while I'm not saying don't ask questions about DEI, I think you need to do a lot of research first to see if that's really appropriate for the kind of company you're looking for employment from. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Did you call it years ago? Did you say, hey, you know something? This DEI thing is just not going to last. There's no way companies are going to keep paying for this forever because it doesn't really look like it's actually worth anywhere near the money and trouble they're spending on it. Or did you think this was going to be our future? It looks like, at least for now, it is not going to be our future. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.